Hello there, this is the first part of a long series of tutorials called Regenerated, because it's an old assignment and it's telling you about the basics of animation in 3D. And I'm using Cinema 4D, but basically it works the same in any application. I'm going to talk about animation principles and how to actually implement them in a simple animation. Now, I got so tired of the bouncing ball to start off with, so I actually animated a little tire that rolls out at the end of the animation. Now, the setup. This is what you're going to make, and I'm going to explain step by step what I'm doing. Right now, I'm making an error because I'm making a new material. I don't want a new material. I want a new scene. And I'm starting off with the tube. And I'm setting it up. I need about 30 subdivisions. Switch on the fillet so I get this nice edge. And just put it over the X. And since it's now in the middle of my scene, and I want this to be the hypothetical floor, I'm just pumping it up to 100 over the Y. Now, this tube is going to represent the stretching of the tire and the roll. And I'm just putting it in the title that you know that this node, this object, is going to stretch and it's going to roll as part of its animation. Now, I'm also going to introduce a null node, which is empty. There's no geometry, etc. And it's going to wind up right here in 0, 0, 0. And this one is going to take care of the squash. And what else is going to do? And the fall. Or the bounce. Let's call it bounce. Right. So this is the up and down and the squashing of the tire as a whole. And why do I split these things up? Can you do that? Yeah, because animation is not like physics. Everything doesn't happen at once. You can layer it. And that's one of the most important things that you have to learn about making animations in 3D. You layer the motions. You layer the changes, the movement. So rotation, and like you see here, rotation, this is the rotation, of course. This is the translation, and this is the scale, and it all works separately. But because you put one on top of the other, it looks like one fluent movement. Right, let's start out with just zooming out, putting this right here, and let's link these two together. Stretch and roll goes underneath as a child from squash and bounce. Now, why is that? Because this is the point where the tire hits the floor. So that's the point where squashing actually has to take place. I'll explain later because I'll make it into a bunch of videos and not just one, because otherwise it would take too long. Let's just set up the bounce itself. Now it bounces, and I'm just going to go to squash and bounce, and I'm only gonna animate the parameters that are actually changing. I can use keyframe buttons here, but that will give me just a bunch of shit that I'm not going to use. So let's start off with the tire being 1500. That's a little bit too much. 1000. Let's zoom out a little bit. Yeah, there he is. All right, this is where it starts off. It drops from the sky. And let's see now. I'm just going to adjust my project settings because I still have it on American. I'm just going to set it to European 25 frames a second. The way to get there is Control P, I think. hang on, no, sorry, project settings is Control D. Right, you only have to do that once, but it's easier if you change those settings permanently, so you start off fresh with 25 seconds per frame. Now, let's see, after 10 frames, here in the time slider, this ball is going to be at the bottom, and here it hits the floor. So I'm going to keyframe this again. Now, the interval is now 10 frames, starting from the top, ending at the bottom. So let's just say that this is up and down. So let's say, but with 20 frames, we have the tire at the floor again, and now I'm just going to squash it in a little bit. Let's say 26. And let's say this is even shorter, actually. So see what I did there? I just moved a keyframe just by clicking it. It turns orange, and then I can just move it. Let's keep it there, and let's put this one there. Yeah, something like that. Get that one back. Now, you're probably wondering, why did you put it all on zeros? Like, it's not moving now. Because in the next part, we're going to animate the we're not going to animate, we're going to alter the animation curves, which is the most important thing that you have to learn. It's not just dropping keyframes. It's editing the interpolation of the animation curves.